All right. Well, that was a good first match. We'll see kind of what happens here. Joke will go and cash out still again. I like the cash out chaos setup that Joke and Shadow had last game. We'll kind of see how it goes again, though. We do see the same setup going around the board. Greed out of Green Spirit. Tyrion YOLO again. I don't think Tyrion has nearly as good of a YOLO role, but if I can say one thing, Tyrion has a really disgusting setup for Gatling gun. And so I think this will be the deciding factor. Can Shadow and Joke counter the Gatling gun of Tyrion? Green has an egg setup if you wanted it. I doubt he does, but there's an egg setup there. There is also a couple different setups in terms of Elite Archer, though he doesn't really have an answer for wave 6 or 5 with Elite Archer. I guess he has a Flower, you could argue. Shadow going for the Green Devil and the Treasure Hunt. And the Poda out of Joke. Both pretty safe starts, pretty good starts. We see the Flower coming out of Green Spirit. I think that falls more in line with his pushing style. We see the Snail coming out of Joke into Tyrion. All right. 20s across the board for Joke and Shadow. So we'll see Joke 5 worker, Shadow just at 3. I believe he will treasure hunt again. And probably play something else if possible. Was he Shadow here getting the Snail? It looked like Tyrion wasn't going to be able to get the Snail out just at the last possible second. Gets the Snail. So he will leak about 42% here. Not the end of the world. Shadow is trying to basically go for a really big send into green at a certain point. Right, because he's double treasure hunted. He's got 54 Mythium already. He's 4 workers as well. So, at the end of the day, like, Joke getting a longer time to send into the Gatling gun is not necessarily a negative. And Fire Archer coming out of green, it's going to be a difficult task for Shadow to leak him on any wave here. But you could maybe make the argument that if he goes on 4, you could see a, relatively speaking, pretty big leak out of him. Shadow going 5 worker now. Is he going to treasure hunt here now is the question. If he treasure hunts again here, I think it would be a little bit risky. It seems like he's going to treasure hunt again but build a Bone Warrior. Tyrion being 6 worker is actually, relatively speaking, pretty risky, but he does have double Peewee to cover him on this wave. And Peewees have some of the highest health total out of any. Right. And so he does leak still 60%. I don't think there was much of a way that he could have held there. That being said, Shadow does now have over 100 Mythium to send into Green Spirit here, which is a lot, to say it lightly, for wave 4. So he could go Imps here if he wanted to on wave 4. He does go Imps. We do see Sends coming across the board. Green Spirit is going to go double DT into the Poda and Devilfish. That being said, he does not see the Elite Archer coming, which should very easily take out the send here. We do see Dino coming out of Tyrion. Dino going into Shadow should kind of slow him down pretty well. That being said, the Grarl here I think is going to be the blunder. If he would have went the double flower, I think he holds. But the single flower with the Grarl, I think is going to leak basically the whole wave. Oh my, Green Spirit has died. That is an absolute massive leak coming out of Shadow. Beautiful job here by him to basically put Green down and out. Green's on 6 worker and basically just got clobbered there. Shadow did a great job of identifying the potential for Green to have pushed over what he should have. And then went for a smackdown on wave 4, right? So Shadow was able to keep his worker push going and treasure hunt, right? So he was able to double dip on that ice cream. So we got a little bit of chocolate on the outside crust. Did one of those, you know, the ice cream cone dunks. So we got chocolate on it, and he waited it for it to harden. Then he went in for the strawberry on top as well. The man just went monstrous on the send there. So Shadow now 7 workers, Joke on 8, Green down to 6, but he does have quite a bit of gold here to spend. So we'll kind of see what he does. He goes for the Disciple and pushes an extra worker. So now the workers are about equal across the board. That being said, value-wise, I think Joke and Shadow are technically speaking pretty ahead. If you just look over across the board, they're ahead by about 50 value total, which isn't a huge deal. But you know, not too bad overall. Tyrion going to hold no problem here. I'm interested to see how Shadow attacks Green's role now. I'm interested to see how Shadow attacks Green's role. Shadow did treasure hunt last wave again, so Shadow again double dipping on some of that Mythium, right? So we do see the sends coming in by Green Spirit and Tyrion. Double DTs again here. I don't believe Shadow has too much of an issue dealing with double DT, nor does Joke. So we'll kind of see what happens here. We are seeing the Grarl take a good bit of aggro, so the Poda does not take full and die. That being said, I would have liked to have seen the Poda take a little bit more aggro, so it stayed lower health and was able to get maximization off that heal potential. Not to worry, though. We are seeing Shadow struggle a little bit more than I thought he would to the double DT. But he still does hold. So that just gave Shadow and Joke a pretty easy push. I think Green and Tyrion were anticipating a send on 6, based off the fact that Gatling is pretty weak on 6 overall, right? Traditionally, it's a pretty weak wave for it. And then on top of that, Green Spirit wasn't great, right? Green Spirit was not great there. That being said, we do see a Mimic across both of Shadow, Send, and Joke. Mimic should be able to shred through the veterans, the looters, the pack rats, right? Actually get quite a bit of gold if he gets lucky and hits some of these looters, right? Which is massive. Let's see here. Oh, he's hitting a Pee-wee right away. Oh boy. I think he just got about 10 gold from that one. There's another hit. Another hit. Another hit. Man is just making money today. So Joke gaining probably close to 20 gold overall from that Mimic. Absolutely massive for him. And he gained another 3 there at the end as well, killing off the Gatling gun. So the Mimic out of them gave him. Oh, does that tell me there? Oh wow! So Mimic on Shadow gained 15. Mimic on Joke gained 27 gold. 27. That is absolutely insane. And it looks like... Are they dead? CC Jesters have won it on 7. I did not anticipate the game to go that way, though I think the most important part here is Shadow was able to get a pretty massive leak onto green. And that's really what it comes down to, right? This leak on wave 4 kind of destroyed, realistically, green's chances of keeping this game close, right? That's kind of it, realistically. I think the Grarl may have tanked a little bit more on wave 4. You could maybe make the argument that it would leak less, etc. DPS Grarl, though, just was not the play. It just kind of destroyed him. And then at that point, even if it wouldn't have been that way, right, we still see the Tyrion leak on 3 being, relatively speaking, pretty large. I think Tyrion and Green kind of just overestimated their ability to hold on 3 and 4. And then on wave 7, man, like the Mimics just absolutely shredded, right? The Mimics go through everything on Tyrion's side, aside from, I guess, the Warg and the Gatling, like a hot knife through butter, right? It just absolutely melts him, right? There's no way whatsoever that he can hold those waves, and it shows, right? We see 27 gold gain out of the Mimic, right? And then another 17 out of Shadow's Mimic. So they would have gained basically a free worker if it comes down to it. This was a starve game. I anticipated this to be more or less the playstyle of Shadow and Joke. I was surprised to see game 1 go so differently. That being said, that was a good one. That was a good game. I'm not surprised to see Shadow and Joke pull one off, but it is refreshing nonetheless to see it go that way. All right, so let me just change my overlay here. So we have a 1-1 game. Can we